Hi everyone, welcome to the Spiritist Talk from the Allan Kardec Spirit Center of Danbury. We host these talks every Friday of the month, always at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you miss it, don't worry, you can always watch it in our YouTube channel. But please subscribe and turn on the notifications. Tonight, the topic is Reincarnation, Divine Justice by Joao Korngold. Joao is one of the founders and the directors of the Spirits Group of New York and the Spirit Alliance for Books. He began studying Spiritism more than 25 years ago and has been one of the directors of the mediumship meeting at SGNY for the past 18 years. He is also responsible for study groups that focus on the basic books of Spiritism and also on the André Luiz collection. He gave talks in Spiritism or about Spiritism in Portuguese and in English. In his professional career, Joao is an engineer and also works as a banker. But before we move on to our guests, I will read you a message from the book Happy Life by Joana de Angelis and Divaldo Pereira Franco. The message says, greet your day with a prayer of gratitude. You are alive. While there is life, opportunities for growth and happiness abound. Each day is a new blessing from God, proof of His love for you. As you pass the hours, cultivate optimism and well-being. And with that, I would like to invite you to join me in our initial prayer as we together elevate our thoughts to our Creator and our Master Jesus, thanking for this opportunity, thanking for the benefactors of this Spiritist Center, asking for protection, for inspiration, so our friend Joao can really speak to our hearts, providing us consolation and instruction that will help us to evolve, to change everything inside us that is needed for our spiritual growth. Lord, in one voice, we ask your protection and thank you for this great opportunity that we have. Bless us all tonight and always. So be it. So tonight, as we said, we'll have our friend Joao speaking to us from New York. Hi, Joao. How are you?
Hi, Marcio. How are you? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back here with the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society of Danbury. And, first time virtually.
Yes, that is true.
Previously was in present, but, new technologies, new life, and we adapt and evolve.
Yes, we are always very grateful and very happy when we can see each other, but also we are very happy that even though in the current situation, we are able to have you here with us and speaking about this very specific but very important topic, reincarnation. So without further ado, I will give you the opportunity to talk to everybody about what reincarnation is according to Spiritism, but also would like to remember everyone, if you have a question, feel free to write down your question in the comments, then Joao may be able to get to your question by the end of his talk. So Joao, please take us through your talk.
Thank you, Marcio. So we're going to talk about reincarnation, and of course, reincarnation is always an interesting subject, and I think Spiritism brings us a very interesting approach and a very enlightening approach to reincarnation. The most complete work that you can find on explaining the process of reincarnation is the book Missionaries of the Light by Francisco Xavier and André Luiz. It's the Spirit André Luiz. And so we are going to be talking a little bit, part of our talk will be through the important pages of the book that covers the process of reincarnation. But for us to start, let's learn first what reincarnation means. According to the Oxford Dictionary of English, etymology, reincarnation, repeat, the prefix, it's repeat or come again. Incarnate comes from the Latin incarnatus, which is to become flesh. Carne, flesh. So, what is reincarnation? Well, according to Spiritism, is the return of a soul or spirit to physical life in another body that has been newly formed by it. The spiritualist definition of reincarnation, we are going to find the belief that the soul, after the death of the physical body, returns to earth in another body or form. It's the rebirth of a soul in a new body, or a new incarnation or incorporation of a person. And you see the literature that exists here in the US. I'm showing 6 books that talk about reincarnation. None of them are Spiritist books. So we can see that the reincarnation is common here in this country. According to the last Gallup research that I found, around 30% of the Americans believe in reincarnation. And as I always joke when we are studying reincarnation in our group, 29.9% have no idea how it works. So Spiritism brings to us, so first, if you look at Amazon and you type reincarnation, you are going to find, this is kind of old, but last that we did this research, more than 54,000 results on works on reincarnation, on searches that with books that talk about reincarnation in some form. So you see that it's nothing new and nothing out of the ordinary for the common public here in the US. And also, we have to mention 2 very important studies done on reincarnation. First is probably the most important author, American author that made studies on reincarnation, Dr. Ian Stephenson, that published 3 books specific on the topic of reincarnation, 20 cases suggestive of reincarnation, children who remember previous lives, and then where reincarnation and biology intersect. So he did an extensive research throughout his life at Duke University on the topic of reincarnation, studied many cases, published the 20 cases that he thought were more interesting. This is the cover there is the 2nd edition. And he proves reincarnation by talking to children that remember their previous lives or that had marks, physical marks of things that happened to them in a previous existence. So it is a very important research, a very well-known researcher, and it's very useful for us Spiritists to learn and study his work, because it really helps us when we are disseminating the concept of reincarnation. And then we have this book called Soul Survivor by Bruce and Andrea Leininger, talking about their son. Their son remembered perfectly his previous incarnation as a pilot in the Second World War that died in a Japanese island when his plane was shot down. So this is the picture of the pilot. And he could describe up until 7 years old, he could describe with details, and he was taken there to the place and he remembered exactly things that happened that only a reincarnation process could explain, because there is no other way he could explain that. And Carol Bauman, that was in one of our symposiums, did an extensive study and an extensive research on him, and it's very interesting because it's really one of the clearest cases of reincarnation that we can read a report on reincarnation. But let's talk about Spiritism. The fundamentals of Spiritism. There are 5 fundamentals of Spiritism: the existence of God, the existence of spirits and their survival after death, reincarnation, multitude of inhabited worlds, and communicability of the spirits. Here is where we are going to focus. But it's important to understand that in Spiritism didn't bring anything new. So the existence of God, that exists since the beginning of times. Since primitive beings, we believe in something else that is not physical. The existence of spirits and their survival after death, also not something that Spiritism brought to us, but something that exists since primitive times. Reincarnation, the Eastern cultures believe in reincarnation, have believed and taught reincarnation for thousands of years. Multitude of inhabited worlds. You have different people that believe that in that. It's not, Spiritism was not the first one to bring it. And communicability of the spirits, as we normally say, since the first incarnated human being and the first spirit in the spiritual world existed, the communicability was possible. And you find in all ancient civilizations different stories about the communicability of the spirits. You have the Delphi oracle in ancient Greece, that the spirits gave messages. You have Socrates talking about it. You have Pythagoras talking about it. You have the belief in ancient Egypt on the spirits and the communication that they received. And you go in recent times, you have different beliefs, religions that have used the communication with the spirit. So what did Spiritism bring to us? What Spiritism brought to us, it's an explanation on how it works. Nowhere else you are going to find such a detailed explanation of reincarnation like Spiritism has brought to us. So for those 30% of Americans that believe in reincarnation, what an opportunity for them to learn what is the purpose of reincarnation? How does it work? Why does it happen? And how is the process? And this is all explained by Spiritism in a way that you won't find anywhere else. Also, it's not the subject tonight, but on the mediumship or communicability of the spirits, the way that Spiritism explains it, from the philosophical aspect to the scientific aspect to the moral aspect, there is nowhere else that you learn more about how, why, and the effectiveness of mediumship and the communication of the spirits. But tonight we're talking about reincarnation, so let's go back to Spiritism and reincarnation. So the purpose of reincarnation, according to Spiritism, learning, atonement, and moral and spiritual advancement. So don't we learn in the spiritual world? Yes, we do. But when we are in the spiritual world, we are surrounded by spirits that vibrate more or less at the same level that we vibrate. So when we talk about learning in the spiritual world, you see, you just have to read André Luiz's collection, Life in the Spiritual World, and you'll see how much he learned there in the spiritual world, from the beginning in Ossular, when he was rescued from the lower zones, to the end, when he had really a very good knowledge of life in the spiritual world and the interchange of energies and of communication between the spiritual world and the physical world. So we can learn there, and we can learn here. But for us to put in practice our learning, to be surrounded by spirits, in this case incarnated spirits that are different than us, that have different thoughts, different opinions, different desires, that's where we put in practice all the moral and spiritual learning that we make both in the spiritual world and the physical world. And of course, if we study God's law, the natural laws, the laws of cause and effect, everything that we have done in our previous incarnations will result in a consequence. It could be a positive consequence or a negative consequence. And atonement is an opportunity for repair. We live, as you all know, in a world of trials and atonements. So trials are opportunities to learn from new experiences, new challenges. And atonements are opportunities to repair what we have done wrong in previous incarnation, to readjust with those that we have caused harm, and combining both of them, it's an opportunity